Hey friends, how are you? I wanted to jump on here quickly before I am on another coaching call, but the responses that you guys had from the question I posted the other day around family rules and belief systems shaping your mindset and thoughts today still was amazing, amazing, amazing. And thank you so much for being brave and sharing your experience of things that maybe you recognize that you're still struggling with or beliefs that you're still struggling with from your childhood, right? And past experiences. Hey, Melissa, Team Live, love it. So I wanted to share personally, like for me thinking back when I was growing up, what kind of things I was exposed to and what kind of things that I had to work through as well. I'm victim to all of these things as well that we are exposed to in the world, in the diet culture, and I've totally been there too, hands down. I think that's so important for me to disclose with you guys too. Like, I am not perfect. I have struggled with this stuff in the past too. And it is possible to come out on the other side though, is the takeaway. So thinking back when I was growing up, my mom had 9 siblings. So she had a lot of struggles, I think personally, that she was overcoming with her relationship with food. So she definitely had the mindset of good and bad foods, clean your plate, more of that generation. And that is a lot of the women I'm working with is from that age group. So we're learning to deconstruct these beliefs. Our beliefs shape our thoughts and our thoughts shape our actions, right? And our behaviors every day. So we have to go all the way back to our beliefs and start to challenge that and where it's coming from and why, and question and ask ourselves, is this actually true? And is this really serving me? And is this gonna help me move forward towards my goals? So looking back as a kid, we had more of like the magazines. That was what I can remember of like Shape magazine and Cosmo and like all those things. So instead of social media, that was kind of what we were exposed to in terms of what your ideal body looks like. And that's where you get your information. And so I remember that being like a big piece of where I was seeing things that we should be doing. And that's where I was getting nutrition information. And this is like, when I was in high school, we'll say. So I definitely was trying to have a smaller body size because guess what? That is what you are praised for in our culture, and shrinking and smaller. And, that was what people identify as like, wow, you're doing things right. So diet pills certainly did that before. Otherwise, in high school, I think I did okay. It more became later on after that point where for me, nutrition became more restrictive and over-exercising. So what happened for me later is that when things felt out of control in my life, right, and I couldn't control them, specifically like early on in college, I remember. Huge life change, right? Huge life change, living somewhere else on your own. And that is when I noticed, even studying nutrition then, like that's when I was studying to be a dietitian, that I don't even think it was intentional, but I definitely was not eating enough. And I would exercise like I was training for a half marathon, and I would, do all these things. And then I think that led more and more down an unhealthy road further and further as life changed again after college, and my husband and I built a house, and our schedules changed a lot there too. And I was working at a corporate job and commuting and very high stress again. That's when old patterns and behaviors happen, right? So if we don't address it early on, it can get worse and worse in the sense of, not contributing to our goals. So to be honest, like it was not in a good place. And I think I was probably 10 to 15 pounds less than I am now. And believe me, that is not a healthy weight for me. You probably wouldn't notice the difference, honestly. Like you wouldn't be like, oh, you're at an unhealthy weight, but it was definitely not a healthy weight for me. And I think that's the difference, is understanding like your body's set point of what that looks like for you and what's actually realistic and maintainable. Because when I was 10, 15 pounds, something like that, less than I was now, overwhelming cravings for things, felt out of control with foods, I remember driving home because I from work one day, and I was like, all I could think about was like having, I don't know, like something really, really all I could think about was eating next. And I just wasn't eating enough during the day. And those overwhelming cravings, like if we are giving our body enough during the day, we should feel satisfied and we should be like, oh, I'm hungry, it's time to eat, and not, this is literally all I can think about. I lost my menstrual cycle for 8 or 9 months, which is super unhealthy, right? Definitely meaning that my body was saying, okay, this is not important right now because I'm not getting energy to use on everything you're asking me to do. So reproductive system, not a priority for survival. And these are the things that we have to look at with under eating is what other things are happening in our body, right? Are we having overwhelming cravings? Are all we thinking about is eating? Are we lightheaded? Are we dizzy? Difficulty concentrating? I remember like having such a hard time concentrating later in the day. And I was like, oh my God. And like I just remember my brain just being like, why is it not like clicking faster, right? So anyways, what helped me looking back to overcome that and be where I am now and help other people to overcome this in different capacities, because if it's not under eating, it's overeating, and both are not helpful, right? So I really had to learn like, okay, what are my actual needs? Like I really went through and like, okay, this is what my body actually needs for nutrition. And this is what I do with my clients is starting like, what am I like eating now? I just wasn't really paying attention, to be honest. What are my nutrition needs? Start keeping track of what I'm actually doing, what I'm eating, and then adequately make sure, okay, I need to make sure I'm getting enough carbs at my meals, right? I need to make sure I'm getting enough calories during the day. I need to make sure I'm not overdoing it with activity in a sense of just like, okay, this is the only thing I can do to manage stress or feel in control with. Because yeah, I know a lot about nutrition, right? Because when things are out of control, I felt comfortable and safe with that, right? So this can be anything in our lives. It could be work, right? It could be, I don't know, if you feel like safe with something, it can be that same comfort level. So understanding what my body needs, adequately fueling, and listening if I'm having like hungrier days. So in the past, it would have been like, why am I so hungry today? Like, what is wrong with me? And not listening to that and pushing through and pushing through and pushing through. And that would lead to overeating later. So when I learned to listen to my body and say, wow, it's 11 o'clock and I'm really hungry today, I'm going to have lunch earlier, or I'm going to have a bigger snack, or I'm going to have 2 snacks today and make sure that I'm getting enough. Or now I just so clearly know like what I need that I don't need to keep track of it anymore because I know how to build my meals. I know what works for me. I know like when I'm feeling off, what I need to do differently. And it's such an empowering feeling. Like literally it is such a game changer. I'm not saying I'm perfect and I do this perfectly. Like I still have days that don't go great. And, I still have days that I overdo it too. But it's like, I know that I know it works for me, and I know I can get back to it. And this is what I love hearing other women tell me is it's so empowering that I have such good awareness around my own body's needs. And I'm not only listening to diet rules, because that's the problem, is that we've been on so many programs that have told us all the rules and restrictions and what to do and what not to do and what's good and what's bad, that we're very disconnected from our own body's needs and what we're actually needing. So once we can disassociate from the rules and actually check in with ourselves and understand what that looks like for us, we can make amazing progress. This takes time, y'all. Like this is not overnight. This takes time to like relearn these belief systems. Where is this coming from? Why is this happening? Talking through this together. I really had to talk through this with other people and have support in my life too. And being able to just even disclose these things. Like I remember for so long, I'm like, I can't struggle with these things, right? Like I'm a dietitian. Like I know the things. I am a Bikram yoga teacher, right? Like I know how to do these things. And honestly, those industries can be harder because like we're expected to look a certain way, which is completely self-imposed. Absolutely. No one one day told me, Jenny, you need to look a certain way to be able to be a dietitian or to teach yoga. Nobody, ever, ever, ever. Totally self-imposed. And that's where you have to ask yourself, like, where is this belief coming from? Sometimes there are, I know, industries where it is expressed by other people of like, XYZ of the way you have to look. And that's another place that, you know, you have to work through in that belief system, but just like challenging those beliefs. And I definitely struggled from that like perfectionist mentality. If I wasn't able to do something well, guess what? I'm not going to focus on doing that. And that took a lot of time. I'm continually practicing the absolutist thinking, right? Rather than like absolutist perfectionist thinking, working towards flexible thinking and knowing it's like, okay, this is how I feel today and this is how I need to adjust my day so I feel better and it doesn't have to look a certain way. So the other thing I wanted to mention, like thinking back when I was a kid, in terms of relationship with foods. So my dad was traveling for work during the week and my mom would take care of my sister and I. She did a wonderful job with meals, but I remember when my dad would come home, he was called Disneyland Dad by my mom, because that's when we did all the fun things and we had Pop-Tarts for breakfast and cinnamon toast crunch. And like, tell me, what were the things you had for breakfast when you were a kid that you remember like so clearly as like those fun meals that you look forward to? For me, it was definitely Pop-Tarts, blueberry Pop-Tarts with butter. Like, my dad like would literally act like a kid with us. And like, partly I think he just like did that because that was what he had when he was a kid. Cinnamon Toast Crunch was the other cereal I remember. He'd also do those Eggmans that you make in the eggshell and you would crack them and the yolk would open and you put them in a little cup. Captain Crunch. Yeah, there's these cereals, right? That were totally, when we were kids. So there is definitely comfort around that for sure when we were growing up with these certain foods, and like that still is going to bring us comfort, and that's okay, right? To have these things, but to also discern between the two. Ash, so funny. So anyways, I just wanted to jump on and share my experience too, because I asked you guys to share your experience and I said disclosing is disarming. And if I'm just standing here telling you what to do and acting like I'm doing everything well, I don't think that's helpful. So the takeaway here is challenge your food rules and ask yourself where they're coming from and if they're true. And answers that are flexible. Try to have answers that are flexible and not absolute. Use for the most part thinking. Like, for the most part, I'm going to listen to my body and my body's going to tell me what it needs. And I've made peace with food, right? Like, I can eat sweets and it doesn't have to be avoided, but I don't feel like I need to be out of control with them because I can have them in my life in a realistic way. So anything that you feel like you're needing to challenge or that came up for you, waffles by my grandmother. Yes, like food has emotion, food has memories, and that's beautiful, right? Like that's the experience. Cinnabons, yes, exactly. My husband and I were talking about this last night where it's not just about the food or the drink, it's about the experience. And in that moment, that food or that drink tastes so much better than if you were to have it again. Like, it's the strangest thing. Like, we'll talk about a dinner we had out or a bottle of wine that we had on our first date that we opened again later, and we're like, this wine is not even really that good. It was like, it's the experience that made that food or that drink like extra amazing. So it's interesting, like when you have maybe that food again, it doesn't, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't taste the same or have the same like memories, but there's a comfort, right? There's a sense of comfort and safety in that. So if these foods you're struggling with overcoming, we just need to find other ways that bring you comfort, essentially. And this can look a lot of ways for different people. So I have to jump on a call at 1:30, so I have to go. But I just wanted to jump on and say hi. Thank you so much for joining. So many on Team Live. I guess I should do more midday lives. I just had a minute. Melissa, Ashley, Carrie, what is up? Hi, everybody. So good to have you. If you're watching replay, let me know. But thank you guys for disclosing. I really, really value that. And we're all in this together. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll catch you on the flip side.